Today, I would like to add an insight to anyone who is interested in Korean culture by providing information that not many people coming from outside its culture may know about. People often think that they know well about a culture solely by consuming popular content from the media, but it is crucial to learn about the underlying information of the culture. The objective in this research is to analyze the positive and negative sentiment that exists towards neighboring countries like Japan and China regarding the cultural and historical events for one step closer to better understand Korean culture. The contents of my presentation would be divided into four sections. The first section is about the overview regarding the existing dispute of Korea in relation to Japan and China. The second section is about the original research that I conducted regarding how Koreans view Japan and China. The third section will cover the research findings and its analysis. The final section will present the conclusion and recommendation for the path of further research. With popular K-pop group called BTS, Oscar-winning movie Parasite, and a popular TV series called Squid Game, Korean culture, also known as K-culture, is growing its popularity all around the globe. Despite the growing popularity of Korean culture, there is a side that requires more attention, but is often overlooked: the dispute with countries like Japan and China. This statistical data from a survey regarding favorability towards nearby countries conducted in South Korea, September 2022, shows favorability of Korean public towards Japan and China, with favorability ranging from 0 to 100, where 0 represents a very negative sentiment, 50 representing a neutral sentiment, and 100 representing a very positive sentiment. The average favorability towards Japan was rated 32.8, and the favorability towards China was rated 24.8. These numbers show that average Korean person holds a sentiment that ranges from negative to neutral views toward Japan and China, rather than a positive one.
A TikTok star Bella Porch posted a video of her dancing, which exposed a rising sun flag tattoo on her left arm. The flag is associated with Japanese imperialism and remains sensitive to Koreans even to this day.
This video showed a possible conflict that may arise due to the lack of awareness regarding Korean culture. When an influencer, Bella Porch, appeared in her TikTok video with the tattoo of a rising flag pattern on her arm, symbolizing Japanese imperialism, it offended many Koreans. Furious viewers started leaving hateful comments toward her, which even led to a huge conflict between Korean and Filipino viewers that spread to a social media platform like Twitter. This example shows how it is possible for a conflict to start from an unawareness of a historical event of a country, in this case, South Korea, which emphasizes the need to better understand Korean culture by looking at the dispute with Japan and China. To delve deeper into this issue, I conducted my own research to survey people in the Korean community by using Google Forms. My survey consisted of two sections, one regarding Japan and the other regarding China. Both sections were comprised of same questions, with just the name of the country being different. For the first part of each section, they could rate their favorability towards the country, ranging from very positive, little positive, neutral, little negative, to very negative. Then there was a question asking for a cultural event or a factor that came up to their mind while rating their favorability. And the next question asked for a historical event or a factor that came up to their mind while rating their favorability. The last question asked whether the cultural or the historical factor had a bigger impact when rating their favorability. Through this research, I was able to make connections of their favorability ratings toward Japan and China with certain cultural and historical factors. In the research, cultural factors mentioned from the participants were food and tourism. And for the historical factors, the majority of the participants talked about 일제 감정기, which translates to the time when Korea was under Japanese rule. They also mentioned the unresolved dispute regarding comfort women, which is a term that is used to remember women who were forcefully taken for sexual slavery during the time when Korea was under Japanese rule. Although the cultural factors seem to have a positive impact towards favorability, as 100% of the people who chose a positive rating said cultural factors were more significant towards their favorability rating, the historical factors seemed to have a negative impact towards favorability, as 69% of the participants who chose a rating of little to very negative said the historical factors were more significant towards their rating. The findings from China seemed quite different. Regarding the cultural factors, participants mentioned culture appropriation, tourism, and food. And for the historical factors, they mentioned about the Korean War and the fact that China militarily supported North Korea during that war. Both the cultural and historical factors seemed to have a negative impact towards favorability. Although 100% of those that rated their favorability as positive mentioned that cultural aspect was more influential, 61% of those that rated their favorability as negative also mentioned that cultural aspect was more influential. So, in the case of the favorability towards China, the historical factor was not as influential. At the same time, the cultural factor showed an ambivalence as it had an impact towards both positive and negative rating of favorability. 61% of the participants rating their favorability negatively, while saying that cultural factor was more influential towards their rating would have been the result of people thinking negatively of cultural appropriation. As it was possible for a cultural factor to be more influential towards the rating of negative favorability than the historical factor, it seems that the cultural factor may be more influential. My research showed that the cultural factor is more influential in people's sentiment towards other countries, although the historical factor also had a lot of influence towards people's sentiments. It seems possible that the cultural factors are more influential because people living in the modern society perceive more present information, which has to do with culture. In relation, the historical factor may have less relevance to people living in the current society and have less influence in how people think of other countries today. But it is still crucial to be aware of them because it also holds similar amount of influence as the cultural factors. As a path of further research, I think there could be a further analysis talking about the pros and cons of history. Although it is crucial to learn and study history to not repeat the mistakes from the past, it also leads to resentment, conflicts, and disputes. So, in relation to how my research discussed about the influence of cultural and historical factors on Korean culture, it would be interesting to study the impact of learning history regarding both pros and cons. Thank you.